My dad put a chainsaw in my hand when I was 12 and had me start cutting trees down, and I got instant gratification out of it. And I started to see that with the suppression of fire, we were just losing rangeland left and right. I mean, even our roads were being encroached on, our hayfields were being encroached on. And once I started cutting trees down and started being able to look back and see the improvement of grass, then I became passionate about it. My name's Toby Dahl. I'm a fifth generation rancher in the Bull Mountains of central Montana. My great-great-grandfather came and settled down on where the mouth of Golden Creek flows into the Musselshell in 1886-87. And there was a scattering of trees. I mean, keep in mind that the old trees that you see on the ranch are about the same age as the country, Revolutionary War period, and there was a couple of major fire cycles that thinned out those stands to create those beautiful big trees. But the encroachment, because of fire suppression, I would imagine that 3/4 of their traditional rangeland has been lost in over a 100-year period. I started getting serious about 20 years ago about pushing trees back into the meadows. I love a healthy forest, but we have very little healthy forest. And so I started opening up meadows, and initially the only equipment available to me, I mean without any funding, was chainsaws and tractors. The NRCS, I knew had a program to help cost share for this funding, and I started talking to Scott, and we started spending time together, and with the additional funding I was able to buy, and the equipment became available, and so I was able to buy some equipment, and now I do it on a much larger scale than I historically did.
So my name is Scott Anderson. I'm a range management specialist with the NRCS office in Roundup, Montana. And right now we're out on Toby Dahl's place, and I've worked with Toby since probably 2015. My role right now is basically working with Toby and keeping progression in what he's originally wanted to do from day one, and that's have the ranch be more productive and really utilize fire and the equipment like chainsaws, skid steers and everything to open things up and create a ecosystem for wildlife, livestock, and then just more aesthetics for him too. And so we have our conservation district who we work with, and we have a local work group that they decide every year on what they want to have as their top priority. And back in 2019, we had a meeting, and the local work group decided that fuel mitigation was something that they really wanted to focus on. And that was right about the time that the 2018 Farm Bill came in, and we started doing Montana-focused conservation, MFC. And Montana-focused conservation was taking the top priority of the local work group and also what we as NRCS saw as a top priority to ag producers and landowners, and trying to come up with an area where we could focus that priority and what we're able to do as far as practices and resources, whether it's technical or through programs, and try to make as big of an impact as we could possible. And so then what we did from there after the 2019 meeting is we delineated a boundary. And the first boundary was south of Highway 12 and east of the Johnny Coal mine. And then our second boundary came on to the west side of 87 and incorporated Toby's place and a few others. And what we wanted to do is we wanted to focus on fuel mitigation, opening up the tree space, reducing the ladder fuels, trying to make the ground more productive. And then also creating a better habitat for wildlife and just making it so that people had less of a concern in the event of a fire, and then also so that there could be places where resources could get in and maybe put fires out before it became like a big issue. Mitigation in an area like this is important because one, the resource of grass and grazing and agriculture, but two, mitigation is important because We're also looking at ponderosa pine tree, which has a fire regime of every 20 to 30 years. By us doing such a great job of suppressing it, what we're doing is we're building up these huge catastrophic fire events when one does go off. And so mitigation is just trying to take that and minimize it from being catastrophic wildfire and being very destructive to more than just the land, but also people's homes and things of that nature.
I've applied for 2 EQIP contracts, getting both of them mainly for forestry, but I've put in solar wells, developed springs. We've done some fencing improvements.
The big one lately has been his forest stand improvement and his woody residue treatment. Going into these areas that are overgrown with trees and leaving the best of the best and creating a spacing that's more natural for this ponderosa pine ecosystem, so that there's the ability to have different age classes, but also an understory of vegetation.
I was introduced to the disc mulcher through Reba Algren, who worked at the NRCS office, who told me about programs because she knew about my desire to deal with the forest. And when I went in there one day, she showed me a video of this disc mulcher. And I took one look at it and said, that's the piece of machinery I want. I'm not looking for a fine finish. I'm not doing homeowner contracts. I'm doing large-scale land management, and that is the absolute most efficient machine for what I do. It's cost-effective. There are bigger machines, but for me and the size of material that I work with, the disc mulcher is the #1 piece of equipment.
I guess I'd like to share that by him going out here and actually taking and thinning or using fire and all, what he's doing is he's improving his resources. And he's creating a better habitat for wildlife. He's creating a more productive rangeland for his livestock. And so come in and talk with us in our agency, because really we're after the same thing you are. We want to conserve the trees. We're not trying to get rid of them all. We're just trying to create a healthier ecosystem and again, conserve the resource while we're doing it.
The NRCS has, they have a large range of, professional resources to draw from. So they're just a great group of people to work with. They're young, enthusiastic, and they want to make a difference.